Here we have the inside of the 2021 Auto Sleeper Warwick Duo MQ. If we firstly come to the main control panel just here, you'll see along the top that it's displaying the external temperature. It's letting us know that we're hooked up to main supply with a little picture of the lightning strike. It's giving us the humidity and the internal temperature of the van. We then have 12 volt on and off just here. Beneath that we have water pump on and off. We need the water pump on so we can get water out of the taps, flush the toilet and fill the boiler up if it's been drained down. Next we have water level. So we have how much water is in the fresh tank, how much water is in the waste tank. And then we have condition of batteries, current either being used or coming in. And then we have mains current just here. And it will also let you know what the solar panel is up to. This side here we have the main button to control all the lights, and then they can all be individually turned on and off on their own switches. We then have awning light and the entrance light. Battery selection just here. So at the moment we're currently using the vehicle battery to power the back end of the motorhome. If I now press this, it will now switch over to the leisure battery. Whichever battery is selected on this point here, when you are hooked up to main supply, this is the battery you are charging. If we now press the cogs, we can now go into the settings menu. So you'll see at the moment that we're set in smart mode for charging. Automatic tank fill, so if we are using the Whale smart fills, we just highlight this one here to make it 12 volt live on the outside and turn the solenoid on to allow water into the van. We then have fresh and waste tank heaters, so if you are using the van in extremely cold climate, you can turn the tank heaters on to avoid frost damage. Lights to come on when the power is first turned on, so at the moment the main lights will come on but the awning light will not. Key beeps on and off, water level alarms on and off, the backlight brightness, how quickly before the screen times out when we're not using it, and then set the time, date, etc. here, and then we go back round to the beginning again. Beside this control panel, we then have the control panel for the Whale heating and hot water. So we have water heating at the top and heating underneath. If I begin to press the button, you'll see that we go over a series of icons until we eventually end up back at off. So if we start with the first icon just here, it's a little picture of a snowflake, and this is the boiler's frost protection mode. So again, if you are using the van and you have water in the boiler but you don't necessarily want to be heating it up, you can put it onto this one here, and then if the internal temperature around the boiler drops below 3-4 degrees, the heater will just come on to avoid any frost damage. We then have a wavy line which represents main supply. This is main supply using about 1 kilowatt. Main supply using about 2 kilowatts, so just dependent on the ampage of the site you're on to try and stop yourself from tripping. If we don't have main supply, we can run on gas, and we can also run in dual fuel mode, so we can run on a mixture of gas and mains at 1 or a mixture of gas and mains at 2. This is a particularly handy setting, especially in the colder winter months if you want to get up to temperature really quickly. Whenever you are consuming gas, a little flame will appear just where my finger is here. If we now drop to the heating, you'll see again a series of icons until we eventually end up back at off. Again, main supply with the wavy lines, this time at about 500 watts. Then we have main supply at 1 kilowatt and then 2 kilowatts, so again just dependent on the ampage of the site you're on. Again, gas on its own, and then dual fuel. We then control the temperature on the plus and the minus just here. If either of the units fail in any shape or form, you will get a little exclamation mark appear, either here if it's a water heater issue or here if it's a heating issue. To find out what the problem is, hold the button down just here and you'll get a series of little red lights appear, and then in the manual it will tell you what the problem is. If it's a basic problem that you can sort out, you will then need to reset the control panel. And the way we do this is, if it's a water heater issue, you hold the button in just here and then press the plus button at the same time, and it will then put the little red exclamation mark out. And if it's a heating issue, hold the heater in and again just press the plus button just here to reset it. Next we have the Dometic fridge, on and off just here. We're currently using main supply with a little picture of the 2-pin plug. If we want to run the fridge on gas, just press the flame button. These particular fridges are automatic and will begin to light themselves. If it fails to light, it will beep at you and flash just here. Lastly, we have 12 volt maintain for when we're driving. So at the moment, if I now put it onto this, it will beep at us and flash because the engine currently isn't running. Temperature control just here. And then we have the removable freezer box just here and the fridge below. Next we have the microwave. The isolator for it is just here. The extractor fan, fan speed just here. And then variable brightness on the lights. Hob just here. Just push in, twist and push the igniter. And then the oven and the grill beneath. Push in to the left for the oven. And then to the right for the grill. Beside we have storage, but we also have the majority of the gas isolation taps just here. So we have cooker, fridge and heating just here, so you can isolate the gas at these points. With the lights in the ceiling, we just need to touch to turn them on. With the actual microwave itself, it's always advisable to make sure that there is nothing in the microwave for travel. And then we have start, stop just here, power settings, etc. And then all of your other presets, etc. just here. This model is fitted with the Truma air conditioning unit, all controlled via the handset just here. So to turn the unit on, just press the blue button. At the moment we are in air conditioning mode with a little picture of the snowflake, and then it's just literally plus and minus to pick the temperature. If we now press the mode button, we can go to heat if that was applicable, which it isn't on this particular model. We can put it into full climate control in auto, just pick the temperature and it will then just maintain. And then we can just put it into air recirculation. Fan speed, just beneath the mode button just here. And then if we then slide down, we can set timers, etc. in here. We have night mode just here with a little picture of the moon, so it quietens everything down. And we have a light just beneath that. If we now come into the toilet, we have the Thetford toilet just here. Open to the cassette on the lever just here. Push to flush on the blue button. If this has been left open and you try to remove the cassette, it will not come out, so do make sure it's closed. Level indicator just here. Because this system has been fully drained down, as you can see, it's just pushing the air out. So it will cough and splutter. Wait until the water's then running freely. And once it's then done this, we can then close the tap back up again. And then the system will then fully prime. We then have the shower just here. Wardrobe also has the smaller table just here and the table pole, which is located into the hole just here. The larger freestanding table just sits above the cab area, just up here. If we now pop up this bench seat just here, we will see the location of the consumer unit just here. So we have the main strip switches just here. So we have the 3 individual MCBs, the main RCD and test button just here. So if anything's not working on main supply, just come and check to see whether or not you've tripped. And we then have the 12 volt fuses just here. So again, if something's not working on 12 volt, just check to see whether or not you've blown a fuse. 2 isolator buttons just here. This one is for the heating and hot water, so if we turn this off, we will get a red exclamation mark if we're trying to run the heating or the hot water on main supply, so it can just stay in the on position. The green one is for the battery charger. Again, we want to leave this on, so we're charging the batteries up when we're hooked up to main supply. And the last one just here will illuminate if we have reverse polarity connected to the van. This can sometimes happen on some continental sites. We have the main 12 volt fuse just here for the leisure battery itself, which just sits in this box here. Tucked down here, there are a few more fuses. They are labelled up as well, but they are for items more on the outside of the van, like marker lights, the tow bar, electrics. As we come across, we then have the boiler just here, and sitting on the top just here we have the boiler drain down. To drain the boiler down for winterization, all we need to do is just turn this lever across like so, and it will then begin to drain all the water out. To refill it, fill up the fresh water tank, turn it back into the position it is now, turn the water pump on, and it will then begin to refill the boiler up. As I just stated when we were in the toilets, you will need to open your taps up they'll cough, they'll splutter, and then once the boiler is completely full, the water will then run freely and then close down, and it will then fully prime up. In the overhead locker just here we have the digital amplifier for the television aerial, on and off, just underneath just here, and then control the boost just here. Also in here we have the Warwick Wi-Fi amplifier. So for mobile Wi-Fi on the go, if I just hit the on button just here, it will illuminate. I'm just going to put my thumb over the code just here. So where beside this little key is the Wi-Fi code, so just search for it on your phone and then connect up to it. You then just pay a subscription and then you will get a certain amount of data, just depending on how much you pay. Storage underneath this side just here, and this particular model here has been fitted with a second leisure battery, which is just located here. If we lastly just return back to the whale control panel, you will now see that the heating has fully fired up and is consuming gas.